I'm going to moderate today. I have a podcast called Word Balloon, and I used to do sports radio, so it is great to see comics and sports come together once again. The misnomer is that there are sports fans and comic book fans, and they don't merge. Totally not true. One of my fellow podcasters is out there, Brian Crispin Pants from Comic Geek Speak. I know he's a big sports fan, but really in comics history, guys like Joe Simon was an excellent sports cartoonist. On the side, while he was also working with Jack Kirby, he would do sports comics. God, if you go through the Golden Age, there's tons of good sports comic books as well. And Julie Schwartz at DC even had, if you remember, Strange Sports Stories, one of the fantastic Silver Age and Bronze Age series and stuff. So it is good to get sports and comics back together again, especially with this project, The Protectors. They've got a very cool trailer that they want you to see, so let's take a look.
Athletes, mere entertainment for the human race. You are all meant for so much more. Unleash your true power. That they may know the world is no longer theirs. A great day approaches. Join the fight.
Cool. Introduce you to the members of the panel.
Wait a minute. Who was narrating that? Because that was.
Who was narrating?
That was pretty. That was like.
That was actually a very talented Grammy award-winning poet, Jay. You know, he got it. I tried it once, and it was terrible. We had a professional come in.
You sounded great. That's fantastic. So, absolutely. Let's have everyone introduce themselves. And we'll start with. We'll just go through the line here. We'll start with Bart.
Hi, I'm Bart Sears. I'm the artist.
Israel Untitled. You're supposed to say, I'm the creator.
I'm one of the creators.
I'm Ron Mars. And I wrote it. I'm Troy Petrie. I lettered it.
So we got good feast of visuals right now in the trailer from Bart, but we should start with Izzy because the brainchild came from you, sir. So tell us about what made you want to do a comic and your ideas for the story.
Yeah, well, it started in 2007. I've always been, creative, I guess, as far as music and drawing and all those things were things I did growing up, and loved comics. So 2007, being in the league a few years, training camp is really monotonous. We get up, breakfast, right after breakfast, meetings, to the practice field, lunch, practice again, meetings. It's like, every day the same routine in a different order. And that year in particular, I said after these 3 weeks, I want to create something, and I want to walk out with a story. So I thought about what do I know about it, and looking back at the stories that I had read, and have watched, like the Pro Stars and NFL Super Programs and things like that. Comics and sports. I just thought there was the bridge hadn't been done. It hadn't been done justice. So I took a shot at creating that universe and telling the origin story of athletes. You have a Devin Hester, speed, Julius Peppers, all this power and strength, but what was really behind that gift, and this tells that story.
Fantastic. And then you got two great guys to help you out and really translate it into comic form and stuff. A great team. I'm sure you guys are aware of it as well, that Bart and Ron have worked before at places like CrossGen, a wonderful series that I love called The Path. You guys remember The Path? So it's great to see if you should. A couple people remember. That's fantastic. But so tell me about the selection of Ron and Bart.
Well, it's as everything started, we looked at, first of all, I'm like the rookie on the stage, and these are the vets in football terms. So we wanted to just put together a dream team to kind of bring my my vision, my original vision to reality. And as soon as I had read some of Ron's stuff, I was like, I got to meet this guy. Like, how did he even conceptualize, come up with this? And I just knew he was perfect to expand and develop our universe. And Ron came in and said, hey, this is great, crafted the story to this incredible story it is today. But just, it's what he does. So it was amazing just to watch him work and his skill. And then fortunately, he brought in Bart. Okay. It was incredible. Everything from top to bottom. Every time someone looks at the work, opens the book, they're like, this artwork is just out of this world. And it's funny. I go to like a football event or something. It's like, Israel Idonije's here. It's like, okay, everybody comes. We go to a con or something. It's like, Israel Idonije. Everybody's like, okay, Bart is here. Like, oh, okay, we're coming over there. So I'm like,
you're right there.
What's going on there?
Absolutely.
They're like, here's Bart. Who's that big guy?
Security. That's excellent.
So it's been a lot of fun working with these guys. They're awesome.
Fantastic. Ron, you've got a sports journalism background as well, right?
Yeah, then I decided I wanted to get honest work and got into comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually my first real job, other than like stocking shelves at the Kmart, until they fired me. Because I called in sick to go to a Cheap Trick concert. Actually a true story. But my mom said it was okay, so I didn't feel bad. My first real job was as a sports writer for a local newspaper in upstate New York. So, we did a lot of local sports, but we also did, on occasion, Mets, Yankees, Giants, Jets, did some Knicks games. So I was at least familiar with, a little bit of the behind-the-scenes stuff at professional sporting events, and also obviously just being a sports fan. I think if you didn't know something about sports, you couldn't work on this book. I think a lot of comics it becomes obvious after a while that the writer and the artist have no idea how this stuff actually works. And it's just like, it's just figures on paper running around. I think because Bart and I are both sports fans, the stuff we're doing in the book comes off hopefully more realistically and actually reads like a real world depiction of what goes on in sports, both on the field and in the locker room. And obviously, Izzy's been instrumental in kind of giving us, an idea of what that world is like even beyond what I've already experienced. Yeah, I'm happy to be doing a book that's got sports and superheroes in it, because obviously those are two aspects of my life that haven't really, other than like reading NFL Super Pro, 12 years old or whatever it was, those two things haven't really brushed up against each other too much. So now when I turn on the Giants game, security, get this guy.
We'll have some sports loyalty confessions happening here. They're not all.
I'm sorry. It's still a sore point. But now when I turn on a football game, I can tell my wife, well, honey, this is research. So.
So beyond football, I should get I'll ask Bart and I'll ask Ryan as well. What other teams for the majors do you follow? I know you're in New York.
You're just trying to incite the crowd.
Hey man, he's a good New York guy. Don't.
I'm a Giants, Knicks, and Mets guy, unfortunately.
Wow.
So
Rangers. No.
Yeah, Rangers. Actually, I grew up like an Islanders fan because they were good when I was in middle school and high school. They haven't been good since, so I got off that train.
And Bart, what I like too is you really incorporate the different body types for each sport that's represented in the team. And obviously, not everyone who plays sports has a Superman kind of natural superhero build. And I like looking at the Zero issue, which is of course available at their table as well. The designs and everything, and the various looks that we're getting into. So tell me about coming up with the designs for each of the individual team members.
This is the tough part for me, actually, talking. Mark Bright had originally done some designs for
for Izzy that the end designs are based off of. I kind of updated them and made them slicker, sleeker. It's a costume design. As far as character body types, I just went with kind of what was generic for the sport and the positions the characters played, and of course then enhanced them for characters.
Well, some spectacular science fiction scenes in the comic as well. And so we saw stuff. Yeah, we saw them in the trailer as well. So yeah, this is what the mythology for all this is. Now, well, first part, sports affiliations. So
I grew up a Yankees fan.
All right.
New York Giants and Jets. I did love the Jets. But now I'm from Tampa Bay, so I support Tampa Bay. The Bucks and the Rays.
Lighting still down there?
Yeah.
All right. See, but Esposito used to be in the front office, all right, Hawk fans, so don't get like too angry about the Tampa Bay Lightning, right?
And a quick story about Bart. I was at Third Coast Comics, and the owner Terry was, he's a big Bart Sears fan, and he's like, man, how did you get Bart Sears? I mean, I love Bart Sears, his work, everything, the muscles. I've never met him, but when I envision meeting him, I'm sure he's just ripped and he's yoked. He's like the ultimate warrior, you know. And he met Bart today. Bart was like, yo, underneath my shirt, I look like me. Yeah, it was great.
And Troy, the lettering and everything, you want to, you know, I mean, it's really key to have the lettering there, and obviously it helps tell the story, but you don't want to get in the way of the art. That's the challenge of all letters.
Yeah, and I've always been a huge fan of Bart's artwork too. But Ron and I work together on a really regular basis, so he knows where the balloons go and the sound effects go, where we're not covering all of Bart's giant muscle.
There you go. What are your sport favorites?
Not too big of a sports guy, but I really shouldn't mention that I'm from Wisconsin.
Oh, that's a really good security now.
But I live in Los Angeles. It's not a loyalty thing.
So is the inspiration for the mythology behind the book and everything, because there is this like space story that is the birth of these athletes having powers.
Right. Yeah, no, I sat there literally in the room and was just, kind of just created this, this dimension where the ageless ones lived and how they created Earth and just the dissenters coming and just the whole mythology kind of just was created from the seed of where does an athlete get his gift, his ability, and what is that true ability there for, to make our world, to make our Earth better and to save humanity.
Very cool. Are there inspirations, specific old sci-fi or comic book inspirations as far as what you were reading or watching that kind of you think led to some of these? I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
No, there wasn't really any specific thing that I kind of tapped into. I literally just had my legs elevated up against the wall to get some of the soreness off in practice, and it was just kind of just sitting there, chewing around thoughts in my head.
And yeah, so Ron, then does this come to you with like a Bible, or like how does the core of the story and everything?
Yeah, we actually Izzy and I met for the first time in San Diego last year at the convention, or at breakfast before the convention, and he gave me a copy of the Bible that he wrote down so far, which is 80 or 90 pages. I mean, it's a substantial document. So kind of my job was to kind of go through everything in the Bible and figure out what would work best for the initial miniseries, how we were going to tell the initial story, and how to slim down some of the information that was in the Bible, because a lot of it was backstory that we want to reveal to you guys little by little instead of front loading. Kind of makes me feel better because I know if they're going to go after somebody first. Leave the Giants fan for later. Get that guy.
First. Go ahead.
So, my goal with the story was to try to design this in such a way that the lives of the athletes that are the stars of the story would be interesting enough for you guys to read a comic just about them if they didn't have any superpowers or this, or this science fiction backstory. I always try to approach things from a character-driven point of view so that you guys show up again every month because you care about what happens to the characters. If you don't care about what happens to the characters and it's just You know, it's just smoke and thunder. It's a Michael Bay movie. Which, oh, I've said that. And you know, they're fun while you're doing it, but it's empty calories, right? You don't actually, you know, you don't actually give a damn about anybody in the story. It's just stuff happening in front of you. I think the best entertainment, and this includes comics, are ones that you're invested in the characters. So for this story, we want you invested in what happens to these people. We want you to feel like these are real, living, breathing people that that you can identify with, despite the fact that they're world famous athletes. And then we add on the superheroic nature of it and the science fiction aspect of it, so that hopefully we're giving you 2 meals for the price of 1.
And then would you say, taking away that superhero layer, I know that your Top Cow work is very procedural oriented, so if it wasn't supernatural things, at least that's how I always looked at what you did with Witchblade and, you know, the other Top Cow books, and they seem to be procedural. Would you say this is ensemble drama?
Yeah, I mean, Isaac, who is the character who bears a slight resemblance to one of the panel members up here.
Can't break it apart, absolutely.
Which one of these is not like the others? Isaac's really our point of view character. I want to make sure that he's your way into the story, and that you can really identify with him and care about what happens to him every step of the way. The other characters are brought into it, certainly, and we will hopefully have the time and the space to tell all of their stories equally. But we want to start with Isaac and really let you, as he's introduced to this world, so will you as the reader. Are you guys talking amongst yourselves?
Yeah, well, honestly, as you were answering, I was just going to say, because Bart has so many beautiful images that we put in the PowerPoint and everything.
Do we want to do the lights and then we'll run through the PowerPoint?
Sure, that's a good idea. If you guys, yeah, can we do the lights? It's like with Linus. Lights, please. There we go. Very cool. So, yeah.
I saw a comic that looked just like that.
Yeah, the alternate cover, again, available at the booth. So what's the booth number? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting.
903.
903. Excellent. So booth 903, come out there and you can check out the 0 issue, the alternate cover, and the regular.
I saw a comic look like just like that too.
There you go.
I heard it's good.
So let's take a second and talk about some of these characters, both Ron and Bart. But Bart, let's start. You know, Danielle Peters, girl next door, as she's described in the 0 issue. So, any thoughts on inspirations for her look, as far as the refinements and everything, and what you brought to?
I usually don't base characters on people in real life. So, mostly when I hear the description from Ron and talk to Izzy about the characters, I just come up with what visualized in my head. And whatever my head's pulling from, I don't really know. So there wasn't any particular person in my mind for Danielle. I just wanted someone that was very athletic and kind of wholesome girl.
Very cool. And is it Ron, as far as characterization for Danielle, the thoughts behind it?
First and foremost, the thought behind making sure that we included her right from the beginning was, we didn't want this to be a boys' club. I mean, in my mind, I know some women, so. and generally, they're smarter than the guys, and a little bit more attuned than the guys. That's the way it works in my house anyway. So I definitely, feel like she's the one who's maybe going to be a bit further along and a step ahead than most of the guys, because she just gets it.
Very cool.
And my only comment would be in her, when she becomes a protector, we have a character here, Elio. If you could stand up, I don't know if you have a shot of her. This is like, when I saw this today, incredible. What a costume.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that is like the full costume. That is impressive.
A force to be reckoned with, absolutely.
Right.
I like it.
Incredible.
That's excellent. So now we move on to baseball, and Miguel Montero, pardon me. It's easy for you to say. So, yeah, I mean, you know, the choices of the major sports obviously being represented, but what else can you tell us about Miguel?
I guess you're not going to jump in there, Bart. I think we really felt like, you know, we wanted a Latin ball player because, you know, we wanted to represent everybody across the spectrum, but because the Latin community is such a huge part of baseball, and there are so many stars that come from the Latin American countries, it felt like a natural fit. And I think the backstory on him he's got a little bit crazier backstory than some of the others. How did you come up with that?
Well, I think really I guess to go back, I think really with all the characters, we wanted to have diversity. We wanted something that connected with everybody. You know, Miguel really was just making stuff up. So, you know, we wanted him to be a little bit different. We wanted his character to maybe not really want to mesh with everybody. Maybe not. You know, he's not the guy that just says, "Hey, I want to be a part of the team. I want to join everybody." He's a little challenged. Himself, anger issues, different things like that. So, and you know, he was an orphan. He was adopted by, you know, a wealthy family that gave him everything. Saw he had a gift, put him, you know, gave him an opportunity to play baseball, and you know, he's like the ladies' man of the group. You know, really the smooth, debonair guy. So,
so perhaps there will be a love triangle.
Within the team.
Well, yeah.
You know, it's funny, when everything kind of started, I had, you know, a really big picture approach. I had more characters, and I was like, here's everything, this is what we're doing. And then, you know, after talking with Ron and everything, he's like, you got to scale down, you know, to make it more, you know, relatable to people. And then, you know, he's like Mr. Mysterious. You know, he's gonna feed you a little piece here, a little piece there, and
Miguel will do that, or Rod's doing that?
This
Okay.
guy.
Rod's doing that with the
Right. So he's you know, maybe there's a love interest. You know, he's not gonna quite tell you, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely relational in between the team. There's relational, you know, ups and downs. There is a love interest between the characters, and just lends to real life. I think ultimately we want that dynamic to relate to real life.
Very cool. And I got to point out, Bart, because I love the design of his baseball uniform. It's got a throwback element to it, certainly with the logo, which I thought was fantastic. It reminded me of some of those great old-timey kind of farm league teams, and even the designs of some of the old major league teams. So,
yeah, that's the feel I was going for, was something more classic.
Excellent. Very, very cool. No, I like it. Is the business of sports going to figure into, you know, because that's really been part of the drama, I think, of sports, as much as on the field as off the field. Is that going to play a real world kind of factor in the stories at all?
In the kind of the layers that I had originally created, there was really no element of that business. But the beauty of this team and what we have is we can really, you know, we have the first, you know, round of the story done. But as the universe develops, as we go forward, we can kind of craft in different layers. And ultimately, you know, we want to write about and we want to grow and develop what the people connect with, what we connect with, what the world connects with. So that's the beauty of having a boutique operation. You know, you're able to navigate it, you know, a little more. So if that business aspect and kind of how devious the business side of sport is, you know, then we figure a way to craft it in that makes the story, you know, that lends value to the story.
I think, you know, that sort of stuff, the stuff that goes on in the locker room, I think we want to, you know, be able to give the audience insight into that stuff that they're not going to get from the sports page, generally. You know, because that's presented more as, you know, wins and losses and you know, much more of a statistical approach to writing about sports. We want to give you the human side of it, and that's going to be a constant presence in the series as these characters are sort of torn between the greater responsibilities that are thrust upon them when they realize that they're more than just and, you know, Chicago Aces.
There you go.
It's, you know, it's, look, there are some tropes in this business that always work, and, you know, everybody's interested in what Spider-Man does, but everybody's also interested in what Peter Parker does, and if he's going to make the rent this month, and if, you know, who he's dating this month. So my goal is to balance those things all the way through the series, and make you feel like you care about the characters in costume and out of costume.
Excellent. There we go. There's Isaac, our point of view character. That's Isaac.
Yeah, I mean, Isaac. You know, his story is you know, they move here from Liberia. Is you know, I love the character because he's this incredible football player, and he plays the game and he dominates in his sport. But it's really, you know, it really doesn't for him fulfill some void. He has a void. He's not quite sure what it is. He knows he's meant to do something more, but you know, until he encounters the lone elder and that interaction happens, and he realizes, you know, the reason that I'm not fulfilled by all the life of being this amazing athlete is because I was destined to do more. I was destined to be more, and just that's something I connect with, and something I think that, you know, for me, I look at athletes as, you have this sport, and you can shoot a basketball, you can shoot a puck, but with that platform, you can do so much more.
There we go.
Douglas
Laurie, yes.
Yeah, Douglas, he's like, you know, the speedster of the group. Love his character, same thing. He's, you know, unlike some of the other characters, he has an inclination that something is different about him, and he uses that ability to his you know, to his advantage. And
I have a question.
Yes.
Why'd you spell his name with 2 S's? Because I spell it wrong every time.
You know what? I don't know. You know, and there's a couple of things like that that's just like, you know, let's do this different. You know.
Because I write the script and then I go through and I got an S everywhere.
You know, and then yeah, this is our Canadian in the group because I am Canadian.
Cool.
Gerard Ryu. You know, and yeah, just been a great character. Actually, you know, after we kind of released the characters online, everyone was sending messages like, Gerard Ryu is our favorite character. It was like, yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, he's just, you know, kind of, he's the muscle in the group, I guess you could say. And you know,
And all of these characters play professional sports in what city?
oh, in our lovely city of Chicago.
Yeah, and I love how their roles also, you can, you know, see superhero tropes in their sports roles as well. I mean, as you say, Gerard is kind of being the goalie and stuff like that. He's the muscle, but he seems to be really the defensive protector, really, of the group and everything. And that's really cool. So obviously the Zero issue we don't get a sense of individual powers yet. And in fact, in the back, there are character thumbnail sketches and you know, thoughts on each of the characters. You're keeping the powers under wraps for a little while.
Yes, compliments of Mr. Mysterious.
I get that. How long is the first story, Ron?
Sorry?
How long is the first story?
About 22 pages. First story arc is going to be 5 issues. 5. This is issue 0, so this one doesn't count. But you should still buy one. So issue 0 was really the introduction, but the first storyline is going to be 5 issues. Will come out monthly later this year. We're still talking to publishers and finding out who we're going to partner with for it. But obviously watch the website because that's where we'll be posting the information.
Very cool. And
oh look, they've turned into superheroes while I wasn't looking.
Excellent. How are things going art-wise? And I don't mean that like in any principal kind of or editor's capacity of, you know, where's issue 2, but no, honestly, like, you know, is it gonna, everything's on time and we're doing okay as far as
There's a lot of stuff to do.
I understand. Hey, and we want it right. It's more important to get it right than it is to hit any false deadline.
Yeah, we've just been taking our time and making sure that everything we do is the right.
Cool. And is there, because it's sports, is there any sort of storytelling difference from a visual standpoint? Because action is action, but
it's hard to draw pro sports. I mean, it look like pro sports, but still like it should be in common. It's difficult. Those pages take a lot longer.
And as far as, yeah, thanks. See, his already knows me in AV because he's used to doing this stuff. Yeah, get in the microphone, man.
I can hear myself fine.
But they got to hear you. Yeah. So, no, but is, are you watching more sports to kind of get the action down? How do you?
No, I usually have sports on.
Okay.
You know, every day at some point or other.
Sure.
That hasn't changed much, but I'm watching it a little different. That's for sure.
Cool. No, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. And yeah, we'll see them both on the field and obviously in superhero action as well. I think it's great, and I especially think the diversity of the sports makes it visually interesting and you know, beyond just really following one sport like NFL Super Pro did back in the day. Things like that. You know, you can't help it.
It's be a little different.
Absolutely, man. Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, are there mistakes that were made, you think, in those older comics run that you look at and say, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it better.
Yeah, they suck.
There you go.
You know, I think generally, look, what generally happens with those sorts of, like NFL Super Pro, everybody, you know, if you want one, go look at a quarter bin down, you should be able to find a bunch. Generally, comics that are, you know, licensed comics or comics that present sports figures in them, generally, they're not taken that seriously by the publishers. They don't, you know, because, you know, sports is nowhere near as serious as superheroes, because we got to treat them seriously. You know, because people in sports actually wear clothes instead of their underwear on the outside. You know, generally, sports has been really portrayed badly in comics. Sports is about motion. It's about continuous active motion. Comics are about frozen moments in time and showing you snippets of what's going on, and you fill in the rest. You fill in what's going on between the panels in your head. That's how comics work. It's not like a movie where you see everything. Comics shows you selected frozen moments. So right off the bat, we're working at a disadvantage because sports are about motion, comics are about single images. It's a tough translation. I think Bart is one of the few artists that's really capable of doing this, frankly. That's why when this came about and Izzy and I talked about getting this project off the ground, Bart was the first and only call I made, because I kind of felt like if he wasn't going to be able to do this, we probably wouldn't be able to pull this off. Not the publisher. So if you guys want to come down to the booth after this, Bart's actually got some of the later pages that are not in the Zero issue, and you can see what the football action looks like. And to me, they're the best looking football comic pages that have ever been done already. They're great. And Bart's storytelling, which tends to have more panels on a page than a lot of guys, he breaks the action down in smaller panels and more bite-sized chunks in a lot of times. To me, that helps in the process. We've got a great spread of Isaac sacking the opposing quarterback to save a game, and you know, Izzy looked at the script and said, "Well, you know, you got to show the receiver getting away from the defensive back too, because that's, you know, we need to know that well, basically said we need to know that the defensive back screwed up, let the receiver fly down the field." Which obviously is, you know, yeah, we do have to show that too. So Bart's storytelling allows us to cut back and forth between the two actions, and I think it works great. And if you're really nice, Bart will show you that page down at the booth. I mean,
and Troy, I was wondering, and Bart as well, because sports and the marketing of sports is such a graphic intensive thing when it's presented to fans. Does that give you unique lettering opportunities in terms of to incorporate, you know, the kind of logo kind of lettering into some of the action, or the blams and the pows and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. My background is graphic design originally anyway, so I think of all the lettering as a mixture of the, you know, like the special effects side of movies and graphic design. So it helps tell the story and moves your eye where it's supposed to, but you know, you don't want to mangle the art too. So it's mostly a graphic design thing, and I love the idea of, you know, different fonts and different balloons for different races and different creatures and, you know, specialties and stuff like that. Makes it fun on my end.
Short letters virtually everything I write. So, you know, traditionally in comic production, the writer or the editor will place balloons on copies of the pages to let the letterer know where you should be putting the balloons. I don't think I've given Troy balloon placements in 5 years, 8 years, something like that. I just hand him the script and he knows what to do. It's kind of like working in shorthand. And frankly, that's how the whole process goes, because Bart and I have been friends for longer than either one of us would care to admit, frankly. And we've worked together off and on through all of those years. So I know what he does, he knows what I do. I think everybody plays to each other's strengths in this mix. And, you know, frankly, it doesn't even feel like work. I mean, this is when, frankly, my job is the best thing in the world, because I think of this stuff, and then a week later, it shows up in my inbox and it's real.
You know, there's a microphone obviously set up, so if people do have questions, I want to give people an opportunity to stand up and ask. And while they are doing that, I know it's NFL Draft week, and you know, and I know your current status with the Bears is not quite confirmed. Right. We all hope that you're going to stay. But
yes, that's
can you give us an update?
Yeah. So before, I guess, anyone here has any connections with Phil Lamar, or anyone, just call over that. The sign is, yeah, let's get this deal done. But you know, we're in negotiations, and you know, we kind of just put everything on hold. After the draft, we'll pick things back up. You know, I'm expecting 2 to 3 other offers this coming week, and then and hopefully, you know, the Bears will be able to meet us, you know, at that deal, and allow me to play these next 2 years as a Bear and retire in Chicago. So that's a good one.
The comic book fans of the Bears all together, because not just you might remember a couple of years ago, Lance Briggs let it be known that he's a massive comic book fan, and then Shea McClellan.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and you know, the draft pick from last year and everything, defensive end, and it's just, again, being 20 years older than these guys, it's so cool to see that, you know, athletes are excited about comics and love comics as much as they do. That's great.
Yeah, it really was an incredible locker room. I mean, a lot of people are like, the guys make fun of you. I mean, you know, everybody's just like, you know, Lance and Izzy are sitting in the locker looking at comic books. And Nick Roach as well, who's now plays with the Raiders.
Awesome.
I mean, you know, Nick came into work every day with a different, you know, hero T-shirt.
Do you guys sneak off on Wednesdays to pick up new comic books? Right. Why not? So, sir, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, because I do want you to ask, please. Oh, did I? I'm sorry. Say, I don't know if the gentleman's going to walk up and ask a question or sit down. He's sitting down. That's all right. No, that's cool. And honestly, yeah, I think that's great. I talked to Shea about it too. So I'm sure people are curious. What are you reading? What do you like to read?
Well, I just picked up Sixth Gun. You know, everywhere I was going, everybody's like, you got to read this. You got to pick this.
And I know Shea's a big fan of owning Sixth Gun as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna dive deep into that after this weekend's over, and just relax a little bit, and you know, hopefully the deal will be done, so I can just focus on football and, you know, get to read it.
You know, the comic book equivalent of Cub or Sox fan is Marvel or DC fan, obviously. So, come on, man, you gotta, you know.
Oh, man. You know, I'd probably say I'm tilted towards the Marvel side.
Okay. Very, very funny. And it's funny because, yeah, I asked Shea that question too, and he's like, he likes the indie stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, yeah, Sixth Gun was like the first comic out of his mouth and everything. I'm like, fantastic, and that's cool. So you got to catch up on it. I'm sure you did in terms of researching these guys. But I'm telling you, the path, I love that. I mean, they do a lot of great stuff. Bart, I'm telling you, Captain America and the Falcon was a great run. The first was a great run. But I'm telling you, I love the path. I just thought that was so visually, very cinematic and stuff. And Ron, anytime you're doing something, and you know, the Asian-inspired kind of background and stuff, I think it's always
that seems to be a running theme with me.
I get it. Looking at how much time we got. We got a couple minutes, so sir. Yeah, actually, I'm glad you said that, sir, because I know that at the booth, the question is any unique marketing. I know for a fact there is, because beyond Protector's images, there's some excellent posters that are downstairs representing some fantastic athletes, local athletes in particular. You guys might want to...
Yeah, I mean, as far as marketing, we're just kind of just undertook everything ourselves. And on the sports hero side, so we have these posters, you know, Julius Peppers, Brian Urlacher, and Jay Cutler. He rolled out. I mean, the artwork is bananas. You know, everybody that's walked by is like, I gotta get this Urlacher poster. The Urlacher one's been, you know, everybody's been talking about it. It's basically, it's them in their uniforms with, you know, with powers. You know, Jay's holding a football, and it's like, you know, his arms lit up because, you know, but it, you know, but it's done. It doesn't look terrible. Like, it looks amazing. It's like it's phenomenal. So we'll do that. Also, to that point, my approach is, like I said, let's do something different. Let's do something a little bit out of the box. You know, so I decided I want to do like and I don't know if it's ever been done before, like a little EP, like a little mini soundtrack to the comic book.
Excellent.
So, in 2008, Chris Harris, who's now a coach with the Bears, you know, he had this music. I listened to it, so I went out to a friend and I did the beatbox like. I said, this is what I wanted to sound like. So he sent it to me, and then when I was listening to it, I was just, you know, just the way it was coming across. I wrote just some music. I wrote a little music for it, and then I had someone perform it. So I'm going to play that for you guys here. And then the J Ivy, Monday, we were in the studio all day. I had another piece of music I had done, and I just called Jay up. I said, here's the song. I wanted to be the Protector's soundtrack, a soundtrack for a comic book. He's like, a soundtrack for a comic book. And I said, it's gonna be the intro, and I want it to be inspirational. I want it to be about, you know, saying no to the wrong decisions in our lives and staying focused and being positive. So I'll play that as well. It turned out better than I could have imagined. So we'll just put it together and you know, let people enjoy it.
That's excellent. That sounds great. Sir, a question?
So reading through the pre-comic that was released online, I noticed that a lot of the power is spread out to other countries because it looks that way from the heroes that show up in the background from pages past. Is there any plan to have like separate hero corps in other countries, like non-standard U.S. sports like rugby, cricket, things like that?
Cricket superhero, I like it.
I actually played cricket for 2 years. Yeah, I got a cricket championship. I mean, absolutely. And then, like I said, like the beauty is, if we decide we want to put in a cricket player, and you know, at issue 6, we can roll that into the story. And you know, the beautiful thing is that's what he has to do. He has to figure out how to craft that into the story. You know?
I sense a crossover with the Fifth Doctor.
That'd be good. I was in New Zealand last year and I went to a professional rugby match down there, and it was, you know, so I'm...
Yeah, those guys are built like superheroes.
and no pads.
Yes, this is true.
A couple guys came up, you know, kind of stumbling, so... but I would love to get some more, you know, some lesser known sports into it, because I think that conceptually this is a story that anybody in any country of the world should be able to access.
Outstanding.
Oh yeah, let's play this. So this first song is the one that I just, you know, I had made up, and then I wrote the lyrics to, and then I had someone who can actually sing it, and I called it I Win. And the second song is Fighting, and then this third one is the intro with J Ivy. He actually just blew my mind when he did this. So I'll start with I Win. Now the songs aren't completely finished, so if you can like rap or sing, you know, let's talk afterward. Put you on the song. All right.
You know you can't stop me, won't stop. I find my strength from within, and I'ma keep on riding. I won't stop, won't quit till I win.
Yeah.
From the Protector soundtrack, featuring Idonije and the Countdown continues. Somebody in the front row had a question?
She's right here.
Oh, there you go. Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
You know, I just want to say I think it's absolutely wonderful that you're including the Say No message in your comic books that is going to be aimed primarily at children. It's wonderful that you take that initiative and you're just not part of the NFL that's doing it, because the NFL itself has the Say No program, but you're going above and beyond the Call of Duty.
Thank you.
So yeah, come to the booth. Again, the number, and forgive me guys, 903. And yeah, see the amazing posters, see his art. Oh, there's one more question? Oh, okay, no worries. Oh, you got, oh, it's for gift bags, excuse me.
One more piece.
Oh yeah, please.
This is Jay. I gotta play this.
By all means.
So, when I sent Jay the music, this litho that's on the screen here, he had the music I sent him, he laid this out in front of him, he said he looked at this image, and he just let his pen do the work. So literally, he created this poem to this music based off the work by Bart Sears, and it turned out phenomenal. It's amazing.
When the sky parts waves, lightning strikes the page. History is made when heroes come of age. You have to heighten your fight because the enemy has engaged. When your energy is drained, recharge, push past the pain. You in the blind eye storm and dance in the rain. It's you against the grain. They want to control your soul, so destroy their chains. Say no to their doubts and become the change. The streets are talking, the world is watching, dominate the game. The nightmares are stalking, don't let them steal your dreams. The rivals will want to dismantle your team. Cut to the rope if they pulling your strings. Say no to the hate and negativity it brings. Unleash your power, you ain't average by no means. Do you know what no means? It means looking in the mirror saying yes to your best. To be a protector, you have to protect yourself. Secure your oxygen mask so you can help the next. Faith is the net you use to catch your breath. Maybe you gas, moving too fast. Pace your race, move past your past. You have to let go in order to grow. Don't procrastinate or move too slow. Paint your future, know your role. That's why your soul screams no. That's why your spirit screams go. Find your flow, let your confidence show. When you're on the battlefield, you gotta protect your mind. You best believe I gotta protect what's mine. Find yourself, select your grind. Protect your treasures, don't lose what you find. They coming for your crown, don't lose your mind. Believe in yourself, join the fight, because it's your time.
Fantastic.
Yes, sir. That's it. So it's been a lot of fun. Just we hope